Do you want to just start by talking about your new blog?
I thought you'd be some time doing something, so I started eating my
Oh,
biscuit.
not finish, and then we'll start again. Yeah, yeah. No
Uh,
worries.
mmm, mmm. Jammy Dodgers, the queen of biscuits, I would say. This one is a little soft. I found some in a in a hidden biscuit tin. My wife did. I think she hid them from me and forgot about them, and I found them. So they're a bit soft, but they're still worth having. Anyway, yeah. So my blog. So I have just started about a month ago, I guess. A daily blog. I mean, who would have why? I have no idea why. I know, actually, I do know why, because it's January and February, the worst months basically for getting depressed and miserable. So I thought I need a project which to do that's fun. Whoops. And so I started this blog on Substack. Um, and if you wanna find out more, that's you and anyone watching. Just go to Google and type in "Diary of an Urban Grandad," because as you can tell, looking at my head, granddad these days. And looking around me, I'm in a town, so I'm a Diary of an Urban Grandad. Have a look, give it a read, and maybe even subscribe. I love it when people subscribe. It means they get to hear my blog every day, which is very nice. So there you go. It's great fun. I'm loving. In fact, that's one of the things I've got to do tonight. Go downstairs and write it up, sort it out, so it goes out tomorrow morning. It's great fun. It's like cleaning your teeth only much longer. Do you know that way when you sort of clean your teeth, you sit and think about the world. So I sort of sit there and I think and I type, and then say press the button, and the next day it gets published. It's great fun.
What do you talk about? Just a typical day in your life kind of thing.
Yeah, just rubbish, basically. At some point I'm bound to talk about Jamie Dodgers. I mean, yeah, yesterday I was talking about cheese. I can't believe I'm saying this. I was talking about cheese rinds, as you do. So I was talking about, because I noticed that I was with some people, we had some lovely cheese, and they were all cutting off the outside and leaving it. And I was leaning across their plates and eating it, saying, I don't get why you don't eat this. Either I'd eat it or I'd give it to the dog. And I've got this theory, which I'm not sure anyone else believes it, but I think it's actually really good for you. I think it's a superfood. I think it's full of natural goodness and bacteria, which is really good for you. And so I did that yesterday, and it was the most viewed blog I've done. Well,
Really, yeah.
I don't know what the word is, but the most viewed pages or something. So I got like loads of people looked at it. I said it wasn't a lot. It was a couple of hundred people, not a lot. But and so today I'm doing a poll to say, do you eat your rinds? Yes or no? It's literally tied at 50-50. There's not many votes, but it's just nonsense, but it's really pleasant, and it's on this thing called Substack, which is like an American social media platform, and it's really friendly. Everyone's really nice, and there's no, like what it's like on, what it's like. We all know what it's like on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. You get
Yeah.
grumbly bums and stuff can be, because I've done it a bit, but this is just really nice. It's just really nice. So there you go. It's cheese, and tomorrow and tonight I'm going to write a piece about my motorbike, because I fell off my motorbike recently, which is a bit annoying. But it wasn't that bad. But it was just, every time something happens, you think, oh, I'm going to write a piece about this. So it's great fun, and it seems that people enjoy reading it. So I'm getting some really nice comments where people saying, oh, I love it every day. I get it, and I read it in bed in the evening. Some people do, and others saying, oh, I just love it. It's so cheerful. It makes me so happy. So there you go. I'm loving it. So I think I'm going to try and keep it going for a year if I can. It's quite a lot of work, but I'm going to try it for a year and then see what happens after that. So there you go. That's me. Now, how about you? How long have you been doing this podcast?
Since October, so not very long.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, you're like me, a newbie. Are you
Yeah,
enjoying
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Are
I'm
you enjoying
enjoying
it
it,
well?
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm guessing with a blog, it just takes a bit of time to get used to and still
Yeah.
learn new things and stuff.
That's it. Do you know what that is? I would say that's the bit I really enjoy. So it's really nice, obviously, other people reading it, which is lovely. But the bit I also enjoy is little simple things, like to put a picture of me in the Substack. It said, "Oh no, you can't take a picture from your phone. You've got to convert it to something else. I don't know what." And so I had to go online and say, "How do I convert a picture from my phone to this?" And you know what I mean? So it's all that stuff. I really enjoy learning little bits and bobs, like you just said, like with the podcast. You have to learn how it works. It's great
Yeah.
fun.
Well, like the error at the start with the microphone, like they're just still learning. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Ha, ha. So one of my things is I did it today. Sorry, a jammy dodger. You can't rush a jammy dodger. It's given the respect it's due. But so I I started again. It was someone actually who reads my blog said you should make little films for like Facebook and YouTube and things like that, and Instagram. So I thought that's a good idea to sort of then say on the film, look, if you like me talking nonsense, go and read my blog. And so this morning I made one, and I was walking, and you know, because I've never done it. I've only done three, so I was pressing the buttons on my phone. So the film starts with me sort of frowning at my phone, thinking, "Is it working? Is it working?" So the light goes off. I go, "Oh, hello!" And I put a smile on, so it looks so dumb and useless. But I thought I'm not going to try and change it and do it again. And just that's me, warts and all. So it's like that. So I'm thinking, oh, next time, apparently you can cut the front of the film off, trim it. You can trim the
Yeah,
front,
yeah.
but I didn't know that at the time. So I will learn that for the next one, which I'll do in a couple of days' time. So, like you said, it's just great fun. It's a learning process, and when I get bored, I'll stop doing it. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly like you say. People like the normality, don't they, in the errors and stuff. So it kind of adds to it in a way.
It makes it whimsical, I tell myself.
I just want to. We might as well get straight into the house Martins, if that's okay with you.
Do it, yeah, absolutely do.
So when did you first meet Paul?
Um, well, this has been well documented, I'm sure, but before you were born. So Paul and I were both in Hull. He was on the dole. I was a student, and I had a mate. We'd been around France busking, around the south of France for a summer. Because I used to busk from when I was a kid, like when I was 14. And Paul was the same. He used to busk as well in bands. And Norman was in that with some of those bands, but hey ho, we'll come back to that. So Paul and I were both in Hull, and in fact, living on the same street. It was sort of because it was cheap. It was dead cheap. A street. I mean, like the house I was living in was condemned, so we didn't actually pay rent because they cut the gas off, and the landlord got too embarrassed to ask for rent. And there were rats, and there was holes in the. It was terrible, but it was great fun. And so Paul lived in one house, and I lived a few houses up. And I used to walk past his house to go to uni. And he put a sign in the window one day saying basically musicians wanted to go busking or something. And I used to busk, and I'd just been busking. So I knocked on his door, went in, we got on, um, played each other some songs, started writing songs together, started busking. So when was that? That was between 82, 83, something like that, I guess it was. And literally it just snowballed from there, really, where we started busking, just the two of us, and that did quite well. And we used to busk because if he had mates in Germany, so we'd go over there and busk, and we had mates down in London or down in the south, so we'd go and busk down there. And then we thought, you know what, we need to be a four-piece really, because we were starting to do little gigs, support gigs, but with only two of you. In those days, there was a lot of ranting poets, people like John Cooper Clarke. We supported him a few times, and Attila the Stockbroker, and Henry Normal. There are a whole bunch of ranting poets. So we used to go and support them in gigs and stuff like that. And then we said, we need a bigger sound. So we got two other musicians. We got a drummer and a bassist, Hugh and Ted. Then we started to do quite well. Ted left the band because he had a girlfriend. I think it was mainly because he had a girlfriend. He didn't want to leave, which is fair enough. So he left. So then Norman joined. And I say Norman had known Paul since they were kids. And they used to busk in bands together then. So he joined. Again, I guess that was 84. And there you go. That's how it started. And we signed a 3-year contract. I'll do all the questions in one. So we signed a 3-year contract, a bit like this blog. I'm not one of these people who sort of sets himself. I find it much easier to give yourself a plan. So I said to myself, I thought, right, we're very lucky to get a record contract, but we have no idea how they're going to end up, right? So I said, we'll sign a 3-year deal, which is what we did, because I was at uni for 3 years. So I thought, why don't we try a 3-year deal like I did uni and suck it and see, basically, see what we think. So we did 3 years, and it was really, really good fun. Really enjoyed it, but really, really intense as well for various reasons. And at the end of those 3 years, Paul and I, and all of us actually, I think it was in Dublin or somewhere we finished a tour, and we sort of sat down in a nightclub and got drunk and said, "What do you want to do next?" And Norman and Paul wanted to keep on going. By this time, we'd changed drummer. We had a drummer called Dave. Hugh had left because Hugh didn't really enjoy the fame thing. And I didn't really enjoy it either that much. So Hugh had left halfway through. Dave had joined. But so really he was still sort of the new boy. So basically it was Paul, Norman and I were chatting. And we said, right, the 3-year contract's coming to an end. What should we do next? And Paul and Norman both wanted to do music. Norman had started doing his sort of producing and DJing and all that sort of stuff by then. And Paul said, yeah, I want to keep on going. And I said, well, I don't really. I mean, apart from anything else, I'd met. It's a personal story, obviously, but my brother died in the middle when my brothers died when at the height of our fame, and that really kind of knocked me sideways. And it made me think I didn't really enjoy being famous anyway, and it made me sort of reevaluate what was important in my life. And I realized that family was more important than fame to me. And so also I'd met a woman. Woman, there's always a woman in there at the back of it, or a man, I guess, depending what your flavor is. But for me, it was a woman, and I met this woman. We got married, and she's downstairs now. I'll be down there in a minute with her. And so that was great. So Paul said, he said, look, do you want to, I'm going to start another band. Do you want to be in it? And I said, that's very kind. Thank you, but no. But it did mean, which was great, that all the people that work for us could then go and work for Paul's new band, The Beautiful South, which was fantastic. So that was really nice. And Norma said, look, I'm going to go off and do my DJing thing back to Brighton. So that was really nice. So basically it ended really nicely. Yeah, there you go. And it has been lovely ever since. In fact, I was chatting to Norman just the other day, and he's still the loveliest sweetheart ever. And Paul's still lovely. I haven't spoken to Hugh recently because he's a bit off the grid. He doesn't do social media or anything like that. So, but there you go. So it started, it went well. And then we all decided we'd done it and we'd had enough. And it sort of ended. And we've all stayed friends ever since. And it's been very lovely. And as you know, Paul and Norman have gone on to be stratospheric superstars, which is lovely. Really, really lovely. So I'm really pleased for them. So there you go. That is the story of the Housemartins in however long that took. 10 minutes.
Is it okay if I ask a few questions in between the start?
Yeah. Now go to the quick fire. It's like QI. Do the quick fire question round.
Yeah, quick fire. What was a typical songwriting session like with you and Paul?
A bit like this, actually. Tea and biscuits. Don't think Paul liked tea so much. We used to, what it was, we lived on a thing called Grafton Street, the houses we had, the two houses. And there was a house on the road that had been converted to a beer shop. It sold, real ale. I think it was called. It might have been called the Real Ale Shop or something. So we go to Paul's. I'd go to Paul's in the morning. And literally with a guitar. And I'd have a notebook full of ideas for chord progressions, basically. Like, this is going to be the verse, bridge, chorus. And Paul would have a notebook full. Literally, we used to go to the same shop, like not Smith's, but some corner shop, and buy little like sort of kiddie notebooks. I think Paul still got all these. And he'd write his lyrics, and I'd write my chords, and they'd have little cartoons on the front, like bears or something. And I'd start playing. Paul would start saying, "Right, I fancy this," and we'd just work together. And he'd start trying to get a melody for it, and then because I was doing usually the backing vocals, so that's why often I used to say, this is my arrogant, I may be wrong, but my boast was, I said the reason we got such catchy choruses was that Paul was as you know, brilliant lyricist, fantastic. But I don't have a very good memory, so he'd sort of sing these wonderful lyrics for the chorus, and I'd say, right, backing vocals, and I'm like, well, I can't do all that. Can I just do something simple, like I don't know what. Fun, or happy again. Can I just keep it simple? So because I'm stupid, it meant we had really simplistic choruses with the sort of the sing-along bits, and Paul's clever lyrics and fantastic melodies were on the top. So basically that's what we do. We just do it together like that. That's how it worked. And often we'd work on, 2 or 3 or 4 songs in a day. And then you go back the next day and say, well, what about those? Don't like, oh, that's it. When we sort of got the song to where we were happy, in those days, we had cassette recorders. So Paul or I had a nice cassette record. We each had a nice, I think it was mine, actually, I think I got it for my 21st birthday. Got, some tatty cassette recorder. So we'd record it on the cassette recorder and then take it away. And the next day we'd play it or see if we could remember it. Because we reckon if we remembered it the next day, it meant obviously it was a better melody. And if we couldn't remember it, we have to listen to the cassette. We think, well, that's maybe not so good. That's what you do. And then when we finished the session, however long days it took, we'd sing all the songs onto a cassette and then give a copy each to Paul, to Norman and to Hugh, so they could come up with their parts. And then we'd all meet in Paul's living room. And Hugh had this little drum kit with blankets over it, and Norman had an acoustic bass, and I had an acoustic guitar. And we would just sing acoustically and play acoustically and sort of thrash it out that way and come up with all the ideas of how we're going to like stop here. And you can do it. We'll come up with the arrangements basically in Paul's living room. So that's how it worked.
Have you got any stories behind any of the songs you'd like to share? Or
oh well, there's one I have shared before. Is that the one I remember most is Happy Hour. Weirdly, because we'd done a session So there was a beer shop opposite Paul's house, and at the end of the road there's a whole bunch of shops, and on the corner was a bun shop. And in those days I was a big bun addict. So every now and then I say, Paul, if we, because we'd have cups of tea at his house, but again we had no money, so all he'd have is like crap white bread for toast, tea and toast. And if I really wanted to treat myself, I say, Paul, should we go to the bun shop? Let's do a bun run. So at one point I was saying, look, I want to go for a bun run. Come on, let's go and get some buns. And he's like, no, we should do one more song. We should do one more song. I said, oh God, okay. So I came up with this chord thing, and he came up with these words, and we did it. And they said, right, bridge, we need a bit to take us into the chorus. And I said, okay, I've got an idea. So let's just stick on one chord, basically, or jing, 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 jing. And then we did that. And then it was like, right, chorus. I said, let's use the same chords as the verse. So basically, we wrote the song in 10 minutes. It took no time at all. Paul had all the lyrics already worked out. So we sort of cut and dried it. Bang, there you go. Went off, got the buns, and came back and listened to it and said, hey, actually, that's quite nice, that one. I like that one. So there you go. That's the one I remember. Yeah, it was the quickest and most simple to write, I would say. Because some of them you do one day, then go out the next day and have to change a bit, or you couldn't work out a bit. So it would take a while. But that one came out in 10 minutes. Beautiful.
When you hear a song back like that goes on to be a big hit, do you think about it? Do you think it will be at the time, or do you not?
No, nothing. You have no idea. It's not until you play it live that you get an inkling. So it's when you play stuff live, if people have heard it on the record, that's great. We got to the point where you release the record and you were touring, obviously, around it. And literally within a week of the record hitting the shops, you'd notice people in the audience were singing along with all the songs. You think, that means in the last week, they've listened to our album so much, they've learned the words. That's amazing. And I think we also would get the lyrics printed on the sleeve, inner sleeves. But it was always weird if you were recording songs if you were playing live a song that you hadn't recorded. That was always interesting because you never knew how it was going to go down. Because obviously for the audience, they're like, well, what is this? But it's always great when you're playing a song live and an audience loved it. You thought, hey, this might be quite a nice song as long as we don't muck it up when we record it. People are going to like this one. It's going to be a nice song.
What you mentioned before that you didn't really enjoy the fame side of things. Did you enjoy touring though?
Yeah, the touring was all right, but it was quite intense. Obviously, it's quite intense. So it was great fun. I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. But it's really shallow to admit it. But when I met my wife, the lady who now is my wife, who became my wife very quickly, a lot of the joy of touring is obviously the actual show is amazing. It's brilliant. There's a lot of sort of dull stuff around it, travel and hotels and sound checks and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of it is the fun of being on the road with the lads and basically having a sort of night out in the pub every evening, basically where, you are the center of attention. The band is it's great fun. Because the point, because I had the missus, basically, I was thinking, well, I don't really want to go off with the lads. I like doing it, but I also like being at home. So, yeah. And also, like I said, because my brother, I sort of changed rather than wanting to go out and be like a young lad on the Raz all the time, I thought, I just want to spend time with the family more because, they could disappear so quickly and you just suddenly realize the fragility of life is all around us. So it made me think, you know what? I've done that. I really enjoyed the sort of touring and band and fame and woo stuff. I want to go and do sort of more, boring, lovely family stuff. And we had some kids by then. So I thought I just want to spend time with read the kids bedtime stories, take them to school, take them to the park. I just want to do that really. I don't want to go off and party. So there you go. I decided that, changing nappies was what I wanted to do more than going on tour. I must have been mad. I must have been an idiot. But no, I still stick to that. I think it was a good decision.
I'm sorry to hear about your tragedy, but did that give you a different perspective on life then?
Oh well, thank you. Yes, sorry to bang on about it, but 100%. I would say that moment totally. I always say the gift. It sounds weird, but if you lose someone you love, it's actually you can look at it two ways. You can either let it crush you and depress, and obviously, and it does for a while. But if you're looking for a silver lining, and I'm a big fan of silver linings, if you're looking for a silver lining, you sort of think, well, what gifts have they given me? And so the gift I got from my brother was I thought he made me realize how short life is and how precious it is and how precious people are, not things. So to me, fame was just a thing, anything to do with money or stuff like that or fame. It's just a thing. Whereas people, they can be taken from you. I don't know if you've had it yet in your life, but I've had it. I'm sure we all have when you get to my age, where you lose them for various reasons. And you suddenly think, you know what, I'm going to enjoy every moment I've got in this world for me, and also with the people that I enjoy being with, and the dogs I enjoy being with, and the kids and the grandkids, and I'm going to enjoy my life while I'm here. And so it just made me refocus rather than on ego, which is what I always felt fame and money was, and fortune and all that. It's like about me. Look at me. I was more into like, hey, let's just do nice stuff and go on picnics and have a nice dog walk. Isn't that lovely? So yeah, it did definitely change my life very, very immediately overnight. I would say, yeah.
The band became quite successful pretty quickly. Did that sort of not help? Did that kind of ruin the fame in a way? Like, were you not used to it, and then it just came on you suddenly?
Oh yeah, it was weird. I always said that. In fact, I mentioned this in my blog. Plug. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it most in the early days when you're sort of making your way up the greasy ladder. Do you know what I mean? So when Paul and I were busking, it was just the two of us. You'd start off, it's hard to get a crowd, but then you work out how to get a crowd and how to work a crowd. And then you get to the point where we would have so many people watching us, we would block the road and the police would come up and say, look, lads, you're not breaking the law, but do you mind having a rest for a minute so that people can walk through? Because people can't get past, your crowd is so big, they can't get past you. And like, we'd be playing busking in the street, and like all the office girls would be leaning out the windows and chatting to you, and it was just I loved that. And suddenly, we started. Local newspapers did bits on us, and so we started to get a bit well known. And then as I said, we started to do more. We got signed, and we started to do more gigs. And so the early days when we weren't really that well known, it was really nice. It was like, if you live, I don't know if you ever. I was brought up in a village, and if you live in a village, you know everyone, and everyone knows you. And in the early days of being sort of mildly famous, every time you met someone who recognized you or knew you, it was like meeting an old mate. It was really nice. It was lovely. Literally, on the first tours, at the end of the night, we'd say, look, has anyone got any spare beds? Because we can't afford hotels. Can anyone put us up for the night? I think we called it Adopt a Housemartin. So at the end of the night, all of us and the crew would go and sleep in people's houses who'd been to the gig. And it was just lovely because we weren't famous. We were just hanging out. But then we got to the point where you're famous. And so rather than it being people talking to you as Stan the person, you become, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I'm talking to Stan off the telly, or, or Paul off the Housemartins, or Norman, I can't believe it's really you. And it's really hard to have a conversation because there's like this weird invisible wall between you then. So there you go. So I enjoyed it more when it was just very low level. That's why I'm enjoying the blog again, because there's only like, I've got about 100 subscribers, and so literally I know them all by name virtually. And there's only a couple hundred people look at it. So if someone comments, you think, oh, I know them. Yeah, hello, how are you doing? So it's that thing where it's just really nice. And I said when we got when we got more famous, it just wasn't. It was weird. I mean, literally, I remember once I took my son. He was little at the time. I can't remember. We're buying underwear for him or me. I forget who. And my wife and I were in the shop. Exactly, really dull. And there's like these teenage girls literally following us round, like, oh my god, oh my god. And you think, I'm just trying to buy pants. Seriously, it doesn't matter. It's nothing exciting. But I didn't really enjoy all that weirdness. Yeah. So there you go.
Do you think the hard work and stuff building up to the success was better than being successful in a way?
Well, the trouble is I'm spoilt because I was successful. I think if we'd done all the hard work and then hadn't been successful, I probably wouldn't think, I'd be thinking, oh, I wish we had been successful. So I am very, very grateful, incredibly grateful. I mean, the fact that you are talking to me now about a band, I mean, how, may I ask, are you in your 20s?
Yeah, 22.
22. I mean, my youngest son is 34. So you were born when the band was going. So I'm incredibly grateful that someone like you still has heard of our music and wants to talk to us. And it makes me very honored. It's terrible. It's a strange word to use, but I feel, yeah, privileged or honored. It's lovely. In fact, I saw my mum tonight. She's in a care home just around the corner. And she said, oh, yeah, it came up in conversation to one of the ladies there that I used to be in a band. And Mum was saying, I said, I don't think you'll have heard of them. They were called the Housemartins. It was a long time ago. And this lady who's about my age was like, oh, no, I do know them. Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. And I thought, I can't believe that something Paul and I and Norman and Hugh and Dave did all those years ago, which was, mainly for our own enjoyment and to sort of try and give ourselves a job, is still going strong 40 years. Is it 40? Whatever. How many loads of years later. And I'm aware a lot of that is down to Paul and Norman being so successful. So I think people want to go back and find out where they came from. But either way, it's very flattering. I'm very grateful for it. But yes, you're right. If I'm honest, I really enjoyed all the hard work leading up to it. And when you got there, well, it's a funny old thing, fame. It's not a nice place, and the people who are famous often aren't that nice.
Yeah, I
Because
can
because obviously
imagine.
they have to be quite horrid to succeed. So I'm not knocking them. Fair play, they've done very well, but it's not a world for me.
Yeah, yeah. Where did the name the Housemartins come from? Whose idea was that?
Can't remember if it was Paul's or mine. We came up with a long list of, it was when we were busking, I think, and we just started doing gigs. We came up with a long list of names. And the idea, we each came up with a list of names, and the idea was we'd try to find ones that we didn't hate of the other person's list. And that was the one we came with. And it originally was supposed to be a temporary name. And I wonder if it was me that came up with it because I was always a member of the YOC, which is the Young Ornithologist Club. I'm still a bird watcher now. I know Paul's a bird watcher too, so I've always been a bird watcher. And house, we used to, when I was again grew up in this village, there were house martins used to nest in our house under the eaves, and they flit from house to house. And Paul and I used to flit from house to house. So I wonder if it was my idea. But I remember when we did it, we both said it's not a great name, but we'll stick with it. We stick with it until a better one comes along. And of course, by the time we thought, no, we need to change it, it was too late. We were too well known as the House Martins, so we were stuck with it. So there you go.
Something I want to mention is you've mentioned Hugh and Dave. Five Get Overexcited, the music video when Dave kidnaps Hugh. Whose idea was that, and how did that come about?
Paul generally came up with the ideas for the videos. He was very good at that. He loved doing that. Um, so the idea, I mean, again, we're very lucky. Everyone was very happy with the world. So Hugh basically said to us halfway through the band history, he said, "Look, again, he really didn't enjoy the fame more than me. He said, look, I really don't like this. I want to leave. I just don't want to do this anymore." So we said, okay, fine, fine. And Dave was in another band in Hull, so he joined very quickly. But we said to Hugh, do you mind if you appear in this video? Because we don't want people to think we've like literally killed you and got rid of you, or that you've gone off in a strop because you hate us. What? Do you mind doing it? He was very happy to do it because he actually used to do a lot of acting, like Amdram and stuff acting. He was the Ringo of the band. Actually did do acting. But so he very kind of came along. And what I loved about it, apart from Hugh doing that, was that I forget whose idea it was. I want to say mine because it sounds like one of mine. Was we said, can we have go-karts in it? And the council basically gave us a park for the day in Hull, East Park it was, and they basically closed it, so we were the only people there, so we could have go-karts. So the paths that we all normally walk around, they actually closed the whole park, so we could drive these go-karts around the park. I mean, it was just, this is the days before you had, these days you get go-karting circuits in warehouses and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
This back then. So this was like an amazing thrill. It was just so much fun. So there you go. It was great. It was a good video, and yeah, very nice.
It sounds like there was no egos in the band either, which helps a band really, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't think there weren't. I think Paul was the one who had the most likely to have an ego, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing because I'm very aware that being the lead singer, it's on him. If something goes wrong, everyone's going to look at him. The audience is going to look at him, and so you have to have a certain degree of ego to make the performance work, if you know what I mean. I mean, again, it's funny because I've got other mates who we're in touch with now. Used to be in bands like the Christians and stuff like that, and we call it lead singer syndrome. But that's you have to have a certain degree of ego or confidence or whatever you want to call it, because literally people come. Like look at Paul now. He or Norman. Thousands of people come and yes, they love the band, they love the music, but they come to look at you and listen to you. And you are the face and you're the brand, you're the thing, the product, really. So yeah, so no, we didn't have egos, but I think Paul was the one who was most likely to have had an ego. But I get that entirely because they had so much weight on his shoulders.
Yeah, we mentioned touring. You played the Pyramid stage at Glastonbury. What was that day like?
Oh, it was great fun. I loved it. We went for a walk round. I forget who. I think it was Norman and I. We went for. I mean, I loved it. I loved. But it was really sort of Wild West. Drug dealers with machetes, and it was just crazy fun. But I loved it. It was really enjoyable, and I love the fact now I can still say, "Well, of course, when I played the Pyramid Stage, probably couldn't even play the toilets at Glastonbury now if I begged. But at the time, it was great. Loved it. And what it's weird because I live actually quite close to Glastonbury. So when my kids were growing up, they all went through the teenage phase of going to Glastonbury. And in those days, they used to like, jump over the fences or they had mates on security and smuggle them in. But I used to love it because I used to drive them there. For about 10 years, I'd be taking a succession of my kids to Glastonbury. It's great fun because I'd be in a camper van. So we'd fill up the camper van with kids and beer and tents and skateboards or whatever. And there's always a long traffic jam on the way in. So you get caught in the traffic jam and, open up the back. And so you're pulling kids along on skateboards and they're drinking beer and it's just brilliant. Then I drop them off and I'd go home and I'd watch Glastonbury on telly. And at the end of the thing, there's a pub nearby where I'd always pick all the kids up from this pub and drive home. And of course, they'd be absolutely wasted, sunburned, everything can happen. They're off their tits for like 3 or 4 days. And I'm thinking, no, I've had a lovely time. I've watched all the bands I want to see. I get the smell of Glastonbury in my hair, and it's like, oh, I love it, love it, love it. So it was great fun. Thank you for asking. It was lovely.
Yeah. So you said that the fear wasn't for you, and you left the band, and then you started a food shop. Did that bring sort of normality back to your life?
Um, yeah, no, it was stupid, wasn't it? No, it was like the blog. It was just a succession of strange things. My career has been. I was a vegetarian at the time, so I thought I don't want to go and do another band or do a solo album. I thought about doing a solo album. I thought I just don't want to do music anymore. So I thought I need to find something else to do to earn money because we had 4 kids by this time, my wife and I. So we opened up a whole food shop because I was veggie, and it meant we could eat from the shop basically. So it was like, but we never made any money because of course we ate all the we ate all the food. But and it was great fun because a mate of mine came down from Hull to manage it. So we had a great time. We used to, I mean, God, this is how long ago it was. We used to sit in the window, this Holford shop, because he smoked roll-ups, ciggies, and so did I. We'd sit there in the window with our feet hanging out the window, smoking these cigarettes, waiting for customers to come in. And when we did, we put the cigarettes down on the windowsill and go back in and serve them and go back out and have another smoke break. So it was dumb, but it was great fun.
Were you writing kids' books at this point?
Yeah, so it was then because when I was in the shop and my mate, if he wasn't in there, if he was on a day off, it's quite boring. I just find it quite boring. So I used to think up ideas for kids' stories, and then I started telling, as I said earlier, with the kids, I used to like telling them bedtime stories. So I started writing down the stories I was telling them. Partially because that way you can you won't know it yet. You haven't got any kids, I presume. But if you tell a kid a story, the next night say again, and you'd tell them, they say, no, 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 that's not right. You're not 3 before he went. I say, oh, sorry, is that what okay? So I'd write the stories down, and then I was really lucky that I was at school with a mate of mine whose dad was a novelist, a guy called David Lodge. He's a famous novelist. This dad. So I'd written these stories down. I thought, I should think about doing some books. I reckon. So I rang David Lodge, my mate's dad, and I said, "What? I've written these stories. What should I do?" And he said, "Get an agent." So I did, got an agent, and I spent, I don't know, 10 years writing kids' books. Wrote about 120 last time I counted. I think there's a few more, but after that, but wrote loads of kids' books. And then after I'd done that, I started writing kids' telly shows. Because once you do books, people say, "Oh, should we turn them into a telly show?" So I said, "Well, I'll write the scripts." And he think, "Actually, I can write other people's scripts as well now." So yeah, so I moved smoothly from I was writing kids' books and then started writing kids' telly shows.
What was that like? The whole working on kids' TV?
Oh, I love that. It was great fun. Because also, by then I was doing the music for kids' TV as well after that. And then I started doing animation because in Happy Hour there's animation. Again, that was my idea to
Yeah.
get animation in Happy Hour because
All right. Yeah.
I love the Morph, which is basically Aardman, who are in Bristol, of course. Morph was on a TV show many years ago. I used to watch that, loved it. The claymation, using plasticine. So we got some students to do a thing for a Happy Hour video, and then when I was writing kids telly, I went and started a production company making animation. So I used to make the shows as well for a while, and that was absolutely great fun. Loved it. And then I started writing the songs. I was like that little Britain. I write the theme song. I'm in the show. I write the scripts. I did all that. So it was great fun. But then what it is by the time you get to 40, you realize there's no one over the age of 40 in kids TV. I noticed. I actually kept on going until I was 50. And then after that, I stopped. So I thought, now I'm too old for this now.
Then you became, was it after that you became a journalist, or was you working as a journalist?
Yes, that's right. So what happened then was I was working on a TV show and I was doing publicity for it for Nick Jr. Nick Jr. I'd done a show for them. Actually, a mate and I were in it. It's called The Bops. We were in the show and I was doing publicity and someone said like this, can you do an interview? And I was like, yeah, but we couldn't arrange a time. And I said, tell you what, just send me the questions and I'll write the answers for you. So they can just print that or change it, you know. So I did that. And they said, when I sent them the things, they said, hey, I showed it to my editor. And he said, would you be interested in writing a column for us? Because it's a Bristol paper where I live. And I said, yeah, go on then. So I started writing a column for them. And it was great because it turned out the editor was at Hull University. And so we'd met. We didn't realize, I'd been there about 6 months. And I sort of went into meetings like, hang on a minute. I know you. And I was like, and so we met. In fact, I saw him today. We were out for a bike ride today. So there you go. So he became a mate. But then I started writing for other newspapers, doing travel. Actually, I started doing travel writing because when I had a column, someone said, "Do you want to go on a holiday?" I think it was a canal boat holiday. So you have it for free if you want, if you just write an article about it. So I said, "Go on then." So then I got into travel writing. So I did that for a while. So I'm still doing that now. I
Where have
go
where have you travelled doing that?
all over. Well, all over really. America. Well, I've been everywhere. Well, not everywhere. That's not true. I've been to Australia and New Zealand. But so I also used to. Sorry, this is a real boring story. I also when I was done kids when I'd done the kids stuff, books. Someone asked me to go around schools, talking to kids about writing, trying to inspire them to write, stories and poems and songs and TV shows. And I did that. And again, an agent got in touch. And so I ended up traveling the world doing that. I used to travel the world with a ukulele. I've been to China, Africa, Europe, the stands, been all around the world with a ukulele. It's been great fun. And also I used to do travel. So basically I've been literally in loads of different places, either talking to kids. And often what I do is I go and work in a school for a couple of weeks and then go on holiday for a week or two and write an article about the holiday. Now, you know what I mean? So they were both work gigs, but different gigs. Great fun.
I know you mentioned when you wrote the books, it kind of snowballed into working on kids' TV, and then it was becoming a journalist all came together. But did being in the Housemartins help you get roles like that, or did it kind of hinder you?
No, well, that's a really good question because I would say it always helped me get a meeting. So if I got in touch with someone and said, "Can I come and talk to you?" My name's Stan, used to be in the Housemartins. Can I come and talk to you? They'd always say yes. But the downside of that was half the time I'm going for a meeting, they say, "Oh God, now you're here. Can you just sign this album?" Or, "Oh, I wanted to just meet you and talk to you because I used to love your band." And I say, "Okay, can we talk about work?" They say, "Yeah, sorry, no, not for us, not for us. But thanks for coming." So it was it got me in the door. But sometimes when I was in the door, it was helpful, and sometimes it was a pain in the ass. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hey, I was just grateful for the opportunity. It
Oh
was
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, you said you've got half an hour. I hope I haven't pushed it.
no. I was just checking out. Yeah, I was just checking my phone a second ago. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, that's been great. Is that all right?
No, no worries. Yeah, thank you for doing it. But is there anything you want to plug, like the blog, any social media, YouTube, anything?
No, just check out the. Well, yeah, I'm on. If you're into Instagram, I'm on Instagram as Stan Cullimore. I've got a YouTube channel called Stan's Happy Hour. Rather cheesy, I know, but there you go, Stan's Happy Hour. I've got a Facebook page, Stan Cullimore. Stan's Happy Hour also is another Facebook page. So there you go. Just look me up. Type me into Google, and if you fancy anything, come and say hello.
Thank you. That was great. I really enjoyed having you on.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy. Have a nice time. I shall now press the leave button if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
See
See
you
you.
later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.